not posting everywhere he's going. The Eagle one was a very targeted post, in my opinion. And if you think these guys are smart and you think that they're playing, chess instead of checkers, I took that as Bijan giving a little hint where he wants to go. And honestly, why would you not? I mean, it's a zone read option offense with a quarterback who is going to really help you in terms of running the football. The offense is going to score 30-plus points a game. They just came off of a Super Bowl. It's fun. The city is going to love you. I think him posting that he was in Philadelphia is a very strategic thing. He's not going to post that he's in Tennessee. He's not going to post that he, went to fly and meet the New York Giants or something like that. He's in Philly, and he wants you to know he's in Philly. How do you feel about Bijan going to Philly?
That's a great question. And I struggle to answer it, quite honestly, because there's a realistic side of me that says this is not happening at all.
Right.
But there's a excited just fan in me and also wanting to see this explosive offense be even more ridiculous and say, yeah, why not? Let's just have a luxury pick and select Bijan. I'm with you. I do think that he's voicing obviously who he wants to go to. And like all the points that you mentioned, why wouldn't he? You're playing behind the best offensive line in football, probably the best offense in football. You got Jalen Hurts with that read option, like you mentioned. So his numbers were phenomenal at Texas. They're going to be great, I think, regardless of what team selects him. But you go with this offense and the sky's the limit. Your career starts out on maybe the best position you possibly could be in. So yeah, I'm with you. He definitely did that intentionally. And you also make the mention of he has the same agent as Jalen Hurts. So that is never a bad thing to have the same agent. Now, I mentioned it on my show too. It's obviously it doesn't guarantee that you're going to go to the same team that your agent has, but connections are a big thing. And I would be surprised if he hasn't already talked to Jalen Hurts. You have the same agent. It's a very easy conversation to be had. So you never know what's actually going on there. But yeah, I'm with you. He's totally in agreement and wanting to be there. For me personally, though, as much as I would love to see him, I just don't think it makes sense. Like we talked about kind of in the open, that you don't have enough draft picks for me to say, go draft running back in the first round. And I know that, and I kind of agree with Philly 500 on Twitter today. I'm like, I'm coming around to the possibility of making this acquisition or making that selection in the draft.
Yeah.
But at 10, it still feels so steep. If you could trade back and maybe get another draft pick, even if it's like in the second or third round, and maybe select him 18 or 19. I don't know what team wants to trade in that position. It would make my appetite a little bit better for him there, but I'm still just curious. And I don't think that's Howie's MO, obviously. He wants to go with the trenches. So I'm still on the fence. As you can tell, I can't really pick a side. I would love to have him, but I don't know if it's realistic.
I love the comments because a lot of people are saying this or I saw someone say it in the chat in both of our Bijan videos. We got comments saying that Dallas wants him and so draft him. That way Dallas can't have him. And honestly, I mean, that's a pretty solid argument. Like if you were to tell me, Thomas, they're for sure going to draft Bijan Robinson and they got Brandon Cooks. So they have a legit number 2 wide receiver. They lost Dalton Schultz. They have Dak Prescott. So there's still some flaws there, but that's an argument. And I would sit there and listen to that argument. The problem that I'm going to have is who else will be available at 10? That's going to be really the big deciding factor. When we're live during the night of the draft, giving away that jersey, I see the super chats come in. We're going to get the jersey giveaway going here in a second. More people are entering in there. What happens is basically this idea that, okay, if there isn't a good trench player, let's say there's a run on trench players. Let's say Anthony Richardson, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3. We'll talk about CJ Stroud's pro day today. Let's say it's all trench players from there on out. They're not taking a cornerback. I don't think they take Christian Gonzalez. And if you don't feel confident in Brian Branch that high, I don't know who else we're going to take. And that's kind of my thought process on the Bijan Robinson thing. I think you and I are level-headed on Bijan. But I think you and I are also very, I would say, what's the word here? I'm trying to think. We're kids when it comes to this sort of thing. The draft is like
we all
Santa.
play Madden, right?
Yes.
Like if I want to play Madden, I want Bijan Robinson on my Eagles team. So to see that on the field, I want to see it translate. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
I don't want to be the Eagles content creator or the NFL content creator that poo-poos Bijan and says, I don't want Bijan Robinson. What a terrible pick. And then night of the draft at 10, they take him and I have to pretend like I'm upset about it because I would still be like, man, this is going to be really fun to watch. And so while we both don't think it's going to happen, it's still like, it could be kind of fun. And I will say this about being one of the 30 pre-draft visits. You only get 30 of them. And a lot of times pre-draft visits are for later round draft picks because you don't really get to know these guys. Like we know who CJ Stroud is. We know who Christian Gonzalez is. We know who Bijan is. But do we know who fourth round running back is, fourth round pass rusher is? To me, that's when you're bringing people in. And the Eagles have done that a lot recently. The fact they spent one of a limited 30 on him to bring him out to Philly means that there at least has to either be some real interest there or they're hoping someone wants to trade up for Bijan Robinson. That way, Howie can trade back, which is a whole different conversation. So
keep the defense off the field. I'm with you. I'm telling you, the fan in me, the kid in me would love to see Bijan Robinson. Don't get me wrong. If we draft Bijan Robinson and we give away Bijan Robinson jersey, that would be the best outcome, the best scenario, in my opinion. I don't think it's realistic, but the excitement to see him in the offense, yeah, it's absolutely what I would want to see. But again, you go back to Howie. I want to, the side of the argument that I keep telling myself is, okay, it's one, what do we know about Howie? He doesn't value the running back position. But two, he did do an interview at the combine where he said, you can't repeat yourself. You have to always be evolving. You have to be ahead of the curve. So I'm like, is that him saying, hey, like, expect some changes? Because he never ceases to amaze us, right? He does things all the time. It's like, wow, I didn't see that coming, or what is he doing? And all of a sudden it turns out to be phenomenal. So I don't know. Maybe that's me just holding out hope and making something that isn't actually there. But I'm telling you, I'm getting more excited with this anticipation. I know we still have a month away to go, but the idea of Bijan would be phenomenal in this offense.
What number is he going to wear? Like what number jersey are we going to give to somebody who enters our little giveaway? Is it 25 or 5? I've seen drawings of him in 25, mock-ups of him in 25. 5's kind of sick though. You know,
I like 5.
11, 6, 1, 5, all there in the offense. I don't know.
I like the single digits. If I get a preference, and I would imagine he would probably stick to that just because he was obviously 5 at Texas. But if I get a preference, I like the single digit thing.
Many Eagle says, would you be okay trading back, getting more draft capital, and take him at 13 or 15? That would be the ideal way to take Bijan Robinson, because you go from 10. Let's say someone really wants Will Levis, right? A run of the quarterbacks has happened. Somebody's missed out. There's one quarterback remaining in the first round. It's Will Levis out of Kentucky. You know, you're sitting there at 10, and you can go back to 15. And if you go back to 15, you still get Bijan Robinson. It means you probably picked up a second-round draft pick this year. You have 2 seconds and a third. I mean, you could get some serious players there. The problem is, what happens if you go back to 15 and Dallas goes to 12? Then you're like, okay, well, we're screwed, you know? So
That's the fear.
That's the idea, but that's also the fear in trading back. Because remember, Philadelphia, they did a great example of this last season whenever they moved up to get Jordan Davis ahead of Baltimore. Baltimore wanted Jordan Davis. All the reports said they wanted Jordan Davis, and they were sitting there going, oh, he's one pick away, and then boom, Eagles are in. They take him, see ya. Like that's how the draft works, and why it's so stressful for these guys trying to figure out where they need to be to get their guys. Because if you sit and wait, someone could fall to you, or someone could not fall to you because they jumped in front.
Yep. And like you mentioned at the open, like what we talked about, there's the excitement of taking someone just so that the Dallas Cowboys can't have him. Obviously, Bijan would be phenomenal, but all the reports and everything else that I'm seeing too is Dallas is not going to trade up ahead of 10. So it's really your pick and your choosing. So the idea that the Dallas is, and I'm sure Dallas is probably sitting there, right? I mean, if you're Jerry Jones and you know, thinking about, okay, what are they actually going to do? You're probably telling yourself, there's really no way that the Eagles are going to take Bijan Robinson. So if we want him, we can have him. And if Howie were to shock you and take him, I'm just saying, the idea of seeing them squirm in the situation room in Dallas would definitely make me very happy.
We did it with Dallas Goedert, right? That was a draft pick in front of Dallas to take Dallas. It worked out well. I always wonder how much espionage goes on in terms of the NFL draft. How much spying can you do? Can you try and figure out people's big boards? Can you talk to area scouts who see the big board and go, who do you guys have at number 1? I don't know. It's probably a lot more than we realized. Ohana Meets Family, who is a friend of the show, he's been on a lot of these live streams. Would you guys draft Kalijah Cansey at 10, then trade up from 30, leapfrog Dallas, and draft Bijan? I think you do the opposite. Unless Cansey's going to really vault up draft boards, which he might be. And Josh had a good show on Cansey a couple of weeks ago. Cansey on some draft boards is 30, and Cansey on some draft boards is like, I don't know, 12. I didn't see Mel Kiper's new one today. I was going to look at it tomorrow, but I would love to see where Cansey is on Kiper's new draft board. The thought process right now is that Cansey would be a more of a later first-round draft pick. So you could take Bijan at 10 and then maybe sit there at 30 and take Cansey. But my guess is he moves up and it's something, 18 to 21. So maybe you go from 10 to 12, get Bijan, use that additional second to come up from 30 to go to 20 or whatever and take him. I don't know, but I think Cansey's a name that all Eagle fans who understand what Howie Roseman likes to do have circled, including Josh, just understanding that he is maybe the next great interior pass rushing defensive tackle. Massive difference. Jordan Davis is not a pass rushing defensive tackle. He's a run stopping D tackle who can get pressure. Fletcher Cox and Aaron Donald are pass rushing defensive tackles who obviously stop the run, but they go get the quarterback, and you're getting that out of Cansey.
Yep. And you mentioned there, yeah, I did a show on Cansey. Mel had him actually mocked to the Eagles at 30. That's a home run if that happens. I agree. I think he's more right now trending towards like the low 20s, maybe even the high teens. If he were to somehow fall to the 30s, I'm sorry, but his athleticism, I know you can make the argument he's 6'1, 280, 281, but he's the same size. Remember, the combine size that he showed up there was the same size as Aaron Donald. So they both played at Pitt. I know that there's a lot of these arguments of, hey, he could be the next Aaron Donald. You never know. And I'm not saying that's a generational type of player, but I still think that the ceiling is very high for Cansey. So I would be all for it. I keep saying it. He is one of them that I would be super happy if somehow he fell to 30. But I really think the only way possible is to trade up from that 30th spot. I do think he's probably too early at 10 because, like we've mentioned on several shows, there's still the possibility. And I don't know that I'm really on this, or I guess on this boat right now, but there are some people that if Jalen Carter were to fall to 10, you take him at that spot. Obviously, just his talent level. I know there's a lot of other issues off the field, but there's that. And like you mentioned before, if quarterbacks start getting taken off the board, definitely 3 will most likely go off the board. But my hope is that Will Levis, somebody takes a flyer on Will Levis in the top 10, because then you're practically picking 6th spot, because it's not like we need a quarterback, obviously. So you get the pick of the litter of really who you want at that point. So I think Cansey's a little too early for that. Would love to see him at 30.
For the Eagle fans out there that do want defensive line over running back, if I told you right now you could get Bijan and Cansey with your 2 first-round draft picks, every single Eagle fan would sign up for that, I think. I think if you could guarantee Cansey alongside Robinson and shore up the 2 big needs for a lot of people, or at least one of the big needs at D tackle, we would all sign up for that. It's just, it'd be hard to do.
Question for you too. I was going to ask.
Yeah.
This is so Mel Kiper mocked Skoronski from Northwestern to the Eagles at 10. To me, I know that offensive lineman is a very boring pick, especially at 10. First round, you're hoping to get someone of maybe more magnitude or star power or whatever, and that's just essentially drafting a backup. I mean, maybe he played his way into becoming a starter at one of the roles, but is that something that you? Well, I guess what are your thoughts on that? Because whenever I hear it, it's kind of a buzzkill. Like, please don't give me that. That's not who I want. But I could see Howie doing it because of what he values.
The only way that Howie does that is if he knows Lane Johnson is done after this year. And there's always been the talk that Lane is getting closer and closer to being done. That would tell me, just like the Juergens draft pick in the 2nd round was surprising to a lot of people, because it's like, oh, Kelsey still got time. And it kind of showed us Kelsey was probably going to retire until they lost the Super Bowl. He comes back. That would tell me that Lane Johnson is for sure going to be going sooner rather than later. Because if Lane has 2 more years, there's no point in taking the tackle now. It's just for a team that's win ready. There's no point in taking a tackle. But if they do, that would tell you that Lane is very much on the outside looking back in. So I don't know. We'll see.
I agree.
5 is retired for McNabb. That's a good point. It is retired for McNabb. But 12 is retired for Joe Namath, and he said Aaron Rodgers can wear it. You think McNabb would allow him to wear 5? I mean, and the whole 5 retired thing, McNabb's still going to have his jersey in the rafter. They don't take it down. They just jersey in the rafter, and then he can still wear it, I think. I don't know. I think that what teams are also interested in dominating media narratives, we get Bijan, then Philly becomes must-see TV. That is a very fair point. We forget that side of things. Now, the Eagles are going to have a ton of primetime games next year, just because of Jalen Hurts. But if you throw Bijan Robinson in there, Philly will have 5 Sunday night football games, or at least 5 primetime games minimum. 1 Thursday night. They'll have for sure 2 Monday Niners. The Cowboy one on Sunday night will be a Sunday nighter. Like, that's a good point, Wispy. That's a very, very good point.
Yep. You definitely always see picks like, or could see a pick like that. I mean, obviously, to your point, you're gonna get the eyes. I think regardless, you're going to get them because of obviously the schedule, and you have one of the toughest schedules, if not the toughest schedule. But yeah, you're definitely gonna get a lot of. I think you already have must see TV, quite honestly. But you add Bijan, and it's I don't know. Dare we say the greatest show on grass? Would it be not turf this time? But you never know.
I mean, seriously, and again, I think I say this once a live show. We have our biases based on what's behind us, but if we could take them off right now and put them down, ask yourself, is there a better offense in the entire National Football League than the Eagles' offensive line, which has 4 legit starters, and you could throw Juergens in to make it 5? Probably the best receiving core in the National Football League, at least top 3 if you want to be a hater. Jalen Hurts, everyone loves him. And then Dallas Goedert, and then throw in Bijan Robinson. Would there be an offense better in the National Football League? No.
There can't be.
There is not. So Oh man, we talk a lot about Bijan Robinson for two people that don't think that they're going to draft Bijan Robinson, but we'll see.
Because we kind of hope that they do.
I know, secretly. I'd probably buy a Bijan jersey. Like, honestly, I'd probably buy it. Between Carter and Bijan, I hope Bijan, I don't want to draft Albert Haynesworth. Boy, Albert Haynesworth comparisons for Jalen Carter.
Interesting.
It's interesting. It's not necessarily, a terrible thought, because Haynesworth's problem was not that he wasn't skilled. It was that he didn't really care, it seemed like. And you can make the argument Carter's doing the same. Did you see that? I saw tweets saying Carter's trying to tank his draft stock so he can be an Eagle. What's your take on that?
I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing ever.
It's hard to do.
I get that you want to play for a specific or some certain organizations, but I'm sorry, when you potentially have the chance to be drafted 1 or 2 on the draft board, you're not saying to yourself, maybe I can go out there and show that I don't have really the full work ethic or the complete head, being in the game or the mental toughness or anything like that, so that I can fall down the draft. That's not what you're doing. You're wanting to maximize your payday because there's so many other options out there, and you're just trying to get drafted by a team. Hopefully it's one of them that you want. I think the difference, and we did mention Bijan Robinson, obviously kind of voicing probably who he would like to play for. But again, the difference is Bijan Robinson realizes he's not going to go in the top 5, probably not even in the top 8 or 9, maybe 10 if the Eagles take him. But he's not going to go that high. So sure, he can be tweeting out or saying, oh, I'm in this city or whatever. But Jalen Carter, no, you don't have that ability to. I think that's the most ridiculous thing ever. You should be trying to get it drafted as high as possible, putting on the best show that you can, and not having any of these red flags. So the Albert Haynesworth thing, that's interesting. Again, like I've said, I'm still kind of on the fence. I know that Jalen Carter is a great talent, or from the tape and everything that we've seen, obviously watching the Georgia games and everything else there. But the more red flags that keep popping up, I'm like, you know what? It might be better if a team just selects him right before us and we don't have to deal with that question.
You're going to know very quick on draft night what people think of Jalen Carter, because he should go in the top 6 based on talent. If he falls out of the top 6, falls out of the top 7, there could be a Laramie Tunsil type drop of this guy just free falling all the way down. Let me ask you this, and we'll go to more questions. We've got a lot of questions here and a lot of really good ones tonight. Let's say there are 3 players on the board. Okay. You have your pick of these 3. Okay. One is Bijan. Okay, 4. Bijan, Brian Branch, Jalen Carter, or Christian Gonzalez. One of those 4, you have to pick one. Who is Josh Davis taking right now? Straight up.
Gosh.
Who are you taking?
That's such a tough question.
Answer in the chat right now, 2 people. Which of those 4 would you take?
Honestly, if you're giving me between those 4, I'm going to take Bijan.
Wow.
I know that's crazy, but to me, Jalen Carter's not worth the risk. What we know, the potential lack. If you ever partially question someone's work ethic, to me, it's not worth it, because it's like you know what show you have to put on at the combine, pre-combine, in your pro day. Like, that's a given. So if you have questions there, Jalen, I'm out of. Jalen Carter, I way too many questions. Okay. The Christian Gonzalez, I think he's going to be phenomenal. But then you have to ask yourself the question at 10, really in the first round total, but certainly at the 10th pick in the first round, you're drafting a guy that needs to be a day 1 starter for sure, without question. And as much as I love Christian Gonzalez, you did just solidify your defensive backs, or at least your cornerbacks, with Slay and Bradbury. I don't think Christian Gonzalez is coming in and going to be like, hey, I'm a full-time starter. You could potentially try to make something work with, moving someone to a safety that I've heard rumors of, like, oh, hey, what if we did that? But that's kind of ridiculous, because Slay is not a tackling guy and Bradbury's too good of a corner. So you're not going to do that. So it solidifies you more long-term. But I think you can look at it and say, you know what, 2024 is really the draft to solidify depth and long-term draft picks and things like that. So I think in this draft, if you're giving me those 4 options, and I know you mentioned Branch, but it's to me, it's too early to draft safety. Wait till 30. I know Branch may not be available, but there's other options. So you give me the option between those 4. Yeah, sign me up. Let's go, Bijan.